There we go. All right. Welcome to the Paulding County School District Stakeholders meeting. We just had a little glitch with our microphone. So we are actually starting over. If you hear people laughing just then, that's what that is about. We are so excited tonight to have you here to talk about the Paulding story and the literacy by design. We have Dr. Brian Otott and Dr. Bonnie Cochran, who are some of our district leaders, associate superintendent and superintendent. And we also have lots of stakeholders in the room. We have parents, teachers, students, principals, who will all share their version of our story and how it relates to literacy and their successful outcomes. So you see a picture here of all the people who are in the room. So we are so excited to have this great group of people to tell you their story. I am the moderator. My name is Jenna Barton, and I get the privilege of just hearing from these lovely people of how this Literacy by Design initiative has affected them in their role, and I'm excited to hear their stories. All right. First up, we have our superintendent, Dr. Brian Otott, and Dr. Bonnie Cochran, our associate superintendent. And what I'd like to hear from you guys is, what do you see as your primary role in the PCSD Literacy by Design initiative, and why are you so passionate about it? Dr. Otott?
Yeah, it was really good the first time for those of you. But I would like to start by thanking all of the stakeholders who are here this evening. I wish you all could be here around this table with awesome students, awesome teachers, awesome parents, and awesome administrators in this district who are really here to share their story about the power of literacy and the role it plays in their schools, their classrooms, and in their homes. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. The other piece I'd like to share is we continue to look for ways to engage our stakeholders. So we're looking for some online means, and this is our first Skype broadcast, and we hope that you find it a way that you can get more information about what's going on in the Paulding County School District. But in terms of our story around literacy, it really all goes back to our idea of really fulfilling the vision and mission of the Paulding County School District. Our mission is to engage, inspire, and prepare, and our vision is to prepare all students for success today and tomorrow. And fundamentally, we know that literacy plays a huge role in our ability to prepare students for success today and tomorrow. We also believe that literacy is foundational in all the core content areas that our students will experience, not only here in the Paulding County School District, but in the workforce beyond, as well as in any post-secondary options. Understanding and being able to read fluently, as well as understanding and comprehending literature, as well as just your typical text, is incredibly important. And our passion here is to make sure we prepare those students. And we know that literacy plays just an important role in that whole process.
Thank you. Dr. Cochran?
And so as Associate Superintendent, my role in this project, Literacy by Design, is really to work with the internal stakeholders and our internal staff, that being our teachers, our curriculum leaders, our building level principals, to design a 13-year experience that begins as soon as our children come in the door as kindergartners and really grows their reading and writing skills throughout their 13-year career in the Paulding County School District. It involves us really keeping a thumb on how our kids are progressing throughout that time, being ready to intervene if they're having difficulty, and being ready to grow them as they become more skilled and stronger readers and writers, and being able to really stretch them as far as we can in terms of their ability to read and write. Because as Dr. Otott said, we really do, the research is pretty clear that literacy is a fundamental skill and is highly correlated and positively correlated. When we send children out into the world, when we send graduates out into the world who can read and write at a high level, we basically set them up for success throughout their lives. So by many metrics of health and wellness and success, whether that's career outcomes, earning potential, even health outcomes as we grow throughout our lives. When we leave school and we're literate, those measures, we're just set up for success. And we see this as critically important to our students. And there's an enthusiasm and a positivity in the Paulding County School District around this work.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Cochran. And if you're just joining us, you should see over on the right-hand side of your broadcast a Q&A app. So if you have questions, feel free to type those in there now. We may not have time. We most likely will not have time to answer those questions during the actual broadcast. But if you leave them for us there, we can get to them after the broadcast has ended. We're going to go now to some of our principals. And we have with us in the room Ms. Priscilla Smith from Hutchins Elementary, Ms. Ann Arnold from Ragsdale Elementary, Dr. Paul Chafee from Poole Elementary, Ms. Misty Cooksey from Hiram High School, and Ms. Christy Carson from PD Rich Middle School. And the first question for you guys is, how has the PCSD Literacy by Design initiative helped you become a more effective instructional leader?
I think that prior to Literacy by Design, we would go into classrooms and look for what we consider it to be overall good reading instruction. And we really didn't find out whether or not the students were getting what they needed until standardized testing time came. But with Literacy by Design, we have checkpoints in place where we can make adjustments. We have specific look-fors that tell us whether or not students are getting what they need. So I think overall for me, Literacy by Design has given me the tools that I need to be an effective instructional leader and to know if students are getting what they need in my building for literacy and to become strong readers.
As a leader, for me, I love the fact that I can look at the data. The data is current. We are assessing our students every 15 days and putting them on different learning paths. Our students are getting material that's appropriate for their individual levels, so we know that we're meeting those individual needs. We have an abundance of data that we use, and we let that drive every single instructional decision that we make for our students.
Awesome. Paul?
For me, it's really seeing the hard work and dedication of our teaching staff and knowing that their extraordinary preparation and efforts are really, targeting our students at this point. We see students experiencing engaging literacy practices in our classrooms, discovering inspiring moments with literature, and celebrating successes along the path to becoming future leaders.
All right, Christy, we've heard from 3 elementary principals now. How does that translate over to the middle school?
Well, as we mentioned earlier with Dr. Otott, literacy is woven into all that we do across the board in middle school. And it's been helpful that ongoing training has been provided to our teachers, both through district curriculum coordinators, as well as local school department chairs. And that's just helped me as a leader to be able to help support our teachers, to know what to look for when I go into classrooms. And it just makes me be able to provide that effective feedback, as well as creating that sense of urgency that if a student is not reading on grade level, then we've got to make sure that we're supporting them in all content areas of middle school.
Great. Misty?
I think for us, it's been an opportunity as teachers and administrators to work together on how do we effectively implement the reading strategies, the adolescent reading strategies within all of the core content areas at the high school. Everything is so content-based, and this has given us the opportunity to come together as a team to develop and talk through and work out how can we make sure that it's implemented with fidelity in all of our classes and all of our content.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. The second question for you guys is the reason really we're all in education. How do you believe this initiative will benefit all the children?
I think probably the biggest thing that I see is all of the students are starting to love literature, and that's really important, that they love what they're doing and they love reading. So I think that we're growing strong and confident readers just due to the love of literature.
And
I would have to piggyback on that, just to watch the children interact with the literature and how they are enjoying it and loving it. And we have students reading and are picking up books that have never wanted to do that before. Because we do assess our students so often, they each have their own individual libraries that are rebuilt on a regular basis to keep the literature fresh in front of them. But just to see that love of reading grow with our children, that has been so empowering to me.
Paul?
Well, you can see the long-term path kind of set forward for our kiddos. Being in elementary school, we see them when they walk in for the first time. So really watching Literacy by Design take hold in our classrooms on a day in and day out basis, we're seeing that table set for those kids from now and until they go into careers and different places in the community. And I think that it really sets us up for long-term success down the road.
Right, and I agree with that, just because we are seeing students come from the elementary school to the middle school more prepared. And just one of the beliefs that we have at the middle school is that when a student's comprehension skills improve, then it really increases the likelihood of their success in more rigorous coursework as they go into high school.
And at the high school level, of course, one of our ultimate focuses is once they move on beyond that high school, whether it's college, whether it's career, whether it's, any type of training. And we know that the literacy, the reading and the writing is such an integral part of their everyday lives once they leave our school, that it's our job to prepare them. And this is giving us that opportunity to do a better job of preparing them to come out into our community and be productive community members with us.
Excellent. I love how I heard so many different facets of life there, from just the love of reading on a personal level to being prepared for college and career to just being successful in everyday life. It really does affect every facet of life. We'll turn now to our teachers, and our two teachers that we have with us tonight are Miss Lindsay Hodges from Paulding County High School and Miss Heather Cartwright from Ragsdale Elementary School. And your questions are very similar to the administrator's questions. The first one is, how has the PCSD Literacy by Design initiative helped you to become a more effective teacher?
Excuse me. The Literacy by Design initiative has improved my teaching by giving me a toolkit, so to speak, of strategies that I can use that are based on research that I know will work. And so once I diagnose a student's needs, whether that is just to bring them up to grade level or to take them beyond and push them to exceeds, it gives me the strategies that I know will work for each individual student. And it's made me intentional in my planning to not just pull something that I think is a great idea for all kids, but then to base it on individual needs and be intentional in planning what each student needs to move them to their next step, whatever that next step may be for them.
I like to think of a word picture that kind of goes along with this being like a literacy ladder, and there are steps, there are rungs on the ladder. And so I feel like as a teacher, it's a very sequential program. So it's really helped to ensure that no steps are missed and a strong foundation is built. And the sequential order is driven by data. So we are able to accurately decide if a student is even new to our school. It's very easy to quickly figure out their exact needs. And like Ann said earlier, just to make sure that every 15 days we're staying on top of what their exact needs are. So.
And how do you believe this initiative will benefit all children?
I think the main way that it benefits all children is because it's very differentiated. So each student is afforded the opportunity every single day to practice what their specific needs are. So within the elementary school, we've got kids in my classroom on such a wide range of levels. Some of them are still working on phonics skills, and some are doing deeper, more inferential level thinking and vocabulary building. And it's the type of thing that, because it's a school-wide initiative, we're able to really push in with all the staff and provide for them so much personalized instruction that no teacher would ever be able to replicate just in her one single classroom.
For me at the high school, I've seen it through my experience in the middle school, and now at high school, I've seen over the last 2 years the literacy extending to a focus in each kid too, not just in the teachers and the adults in the building. But now more than ever, students are genuinely interested in their Lexile level and where they are and how they need to grow and their goals. And our kids are becoming goal setters and then revisiting with the data and being invested in their own reading and literacy. In the high school, I've kind of pushed it to where they're looking at careers now, and they know that they can tell you the Lexile that they need for each career that they want in their pathways. And that's just been really inspiring as a teacher to help me keep going, because I'm seeing how invested they are in their own learning.
Excellent. Yeah, as you two were speaking, I was just really struck by the quote that is literally right in front of my face. If you're very sharp-eyed, you may be able to spot it in some of our pictures because it's on the bulletin board in this room. It says, every student deserves a great literary experience, not by chance, but by design. So I heard you guys speaking to that it's not just a random chance that the kids get a great literacy experience. It's by design. And that's where we get the Literacy by Design initiative as well. Thank you. All right, next up we have our parents. And with us today, we have Ms. Bethany Greenhut and Ms. Sathina Barnett. And Bethany is from Hutchins and Sathina is from Ragsdale. And I'd like to hear from you guys about how your child's motivation and enthusiasm about school has changed because of the intentional focus on reading instruction at your child's school.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy that Dr. Cochran mentioned that the literacy initiative is for readers at every level, because my son is a strong reader, but he was never really interested in reading on his own. So the intentional focus on the reading instruction at Ragsdale, it increased his motivation and his enthusiasm about school. He's more eager about learning. He's more engaged in his learning. He'll repeatedly ask us to test him on his vocabulary words and his spelling words, and he's excited to show us that he knows these things. Because of the focus on his reading, his grades have improved across the board, not just in reading. And he gets 4s now on his assignments, where before he would get like 3s and maybe 4s in like math. But in his reading, he's now getting 4s, and he has this newfound sense of confidence and excitement about school because of this.
Awesome. Okay. And how do you believe that the literacy initiative will benefit your child in the future?
I think the literary initiative will benefit my child with his comprehension, reading, and writing skills throughout his education. I also feel like this has allowed my son to be able to have an expanded vocabulary because of this. He uses much more bigger words than I've heard him use in the past. He's very excited about reading, which he never has been in the past, which was a shock to me when he was invited to do this, but I was very excited and happy because he's never told me he'd like to read. So I feel like this has really sparked an interest in him, and he's been very excited since.
Awesome. And now you get to hear from the students, which there's the stars of the show. I always love it when we get to hear from students. And our 2 students that we have with us today are Molly K. Scheib. She is a 4th grader at Ragsdale Elementary School. And Jake Greenhut, he is a 4th grade student at Hutchins Elementary School. So Jake and Molly K., tell me about your reading DI block at your school. How's that different than what you normally do?
There are 3 groups, a reading group, a writing group, and a group with the teacher, purple, blue, and green. When you go to the teacher, we either read aloud with her, whisper with another partner, or read by ourselves.
Awesome.
Mine is different because I don't go to a regular DI class. I go to Read 180. A lot of people don't know what Read 180 is, but it's just like a regular DI class. Instead of writing, you have student application. We have small group and whole group and independent reading. In whole group, we work in a real book. We have System 44 at our school. We have 2 Read 180 groups and 1 System 44 group. In my class, 1 System 44 group in my class.
Okay. Can you guys tell me a little bit about what's happening in your classroom during this time?
We usually read books for interactive read aloud, and the teacher projects a super sentence and a written response that revolves around the book. Then we basically do the super sentence, and the rest of the time we do a full written response of about 5 or 6 paragraphs. During silent reading time, we just go somewhere in the room to read. We usually just read for 15 minutes. We read books on our Lexile level. My Lexile is 971 and I am in the pink range, so I check out pink books from the Media Center. DI is also my favorite time of the day because the books are sometimes funny and we solve mysteries.
Ooh, fun.
We have an A schedule and we have a B schedule. The A schedule, you have 2 rotations. System 44 has computer time and Read 180 works in their real book. On B schedule, we all go to our rotations. First, we go to independent reading. And we have bookshelves with Read 180 and another bookshelf with System 44. In Read 180 and System 44, you get to get a book on your Lexile level. In small group, we work in our book. In at student application, you get to get on the computer and read the passage and speak into the microphone. You read the passage in the microphone and then and you have 4 other squares. You have a writing square, a language square, spelling square, and then you go back in the passage and you fill in the blanks.
Very, very good. And the $1 million question, do you feel as though you're becoming a better reader because of these changes?
Yes, I feel like I have become a better reader because DI is all about reading, and sometimes the writing prompt involves rereading a part of the book to get the answer. Since we do this every day, my Lexile has went up about 30 points.
When I was in 2nd grade, I couldn't even read a book with my friends. When I was in 3rd grade, they just put books in bins that were too hard for me. They were not on my Lexile level. Now they let me read books that are on my Lexile. I can actually read them. Read 180 has been challenging me and making me a better, awesome reader and writer.
Awesome. You two did an amazing job. I'm so impressed with you.
Very nice. Very nice.
And then last but not least, we get to hear from our district level support, Ms. Terry Harris, who is our curriculum coordinator for English Language Arts. And I have a bonus question for you.
Great.
It's not on the slide.
That was not prepared.
But we heard both the students and the teachers talk about Lexile levels. And just for anyone who is not aware of what that is, can you just give a brief explanation of what a Lexile level is?
All right, so Lexile is the complexity of the text that you're reading, and that is determined by 2 things. You're looking at the vocabulary that is used in that particular reading and the sentence structure. So the more obscure of the vocabulary, the higher the Lexile. The more complicated of the sentence structure, the higher the Lexile. But when we get a student Lexile, it means, just like Molly Kate just suggested, it's something that she can read independently and gain that comprehension without having any instruction from the teacher. So our students are taking various assessments and looking to see, what is your Lexile? What are you comfortable with reading and comprehending? And then we're always pushing forward to be able to get them to higher and higher Lexiles.
Very good, thank you. And now the question that was prepared in advance. Please share 2 easy strategies that will assist our parents and community in supporting their students in literacy.
All right, so these are going to sound extremely easy, but these are the absolute best things that you can do to support your child in literacy. Number 1 is read with your child 20 minutes a night. And if you can't read every single night, when you look over the week, you can have an average of 20 minutes per night. But you would not believe the amount of sentence structure and the amount of vocabulary that is exposed to just 20 minutes every night. Just take a few minutes. They can read in the car as you're going to various activities that you do after school, but 20 minutes of reading is the number 1 thing you can do with your child. The second thing is have your child see you read. So we have a young gentleman here, Mr. Jake. He obviously has seen the value of reading from his parents. So especially for our boys, we need them to see that dads read, uncles read, granddads read, because they think moms always read, but you want to make sure that there's a variety of people that are reading in our children's lives. We have to be able to model what we think is important. And if we value reading and they see us reading, then they in turn begin to value that reading. So read with your child every night and then let them see you read. Read something. It can be reading text, but read something.
Very simple strategies, but very effective. And then I just want to say thank you to 2 other people who are in the room, but you didn't get to hear from them tonight. That's Mr. Jay Dillon, who is our Executive Director of Communications, and Ms. Cassandra Dobbs, who is our Director of Diversity and Engagement. And so you can, they were here behind the scenes, making sure this all ran perfectly smooth. And so thank you all for watching. We have a feedback form for you. The tiny URL is listed there. It's tinyurl.com/PCSD-feedback1. And that will give you just a short little survey to let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want more of, what you want less of, all of that good stuff. And we thank you so much for joining us, and we will get to any questions that you put in the Q&A, or you can feel free to contact your school administration, your teacher, and they should all be able to talk to you about how literacy by design looks in their classroom, in their school. Thank you so much.